Madam Chair, other members of the commission, I would probably like to make this in form of a motion, but I would propose that we open up the county on November 16th, 2020, instead of January 4th, using the Grand Forks County COVID-19 pandemic restart plan. Basically, I think some services are lacking in the county. And I think that if we go along with the restart plan, everything can be conducted safely. A lot of the counties comparable to Grand Forks County are doing the same thing with the people making appointments to get in to county buildings to conduct business. There was a request that was made to department heads to come up with a COVID plan and submit those to Mr. Ford. And to this date, only 4 departments have complied with that. My motion would also include that they have this done and to him by November 2nd of 2020.
Okay, we have you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second that motion for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments?
This is Tom. I guess I think this is all premature. Our numbers are rising right now, or very high, higher than they've been really for months. And I just noticed on the Supreme Court website that within the past approximately 30 days, at least 9 courthouses in eastern North Dakota have closed their doors or gone to some restricted form, much like we are. So I think actually the trend is going the other way right now. I'm not opposed. I think we need to look at moving towards opening up, but I think we have to do it when we can do it safely, and I just don't see that at the present time. And I don't think we can predict by November 16th that our health in this community is going to turn around. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Any other comments?
Madam Chair, this is Dave.
Yes, Dave.
I feel the same way, and I think we can revisit it. But I think we should revisit it in a month from now rather than making the decision yet. I've been watching the numbers every day, and Grand Forks County has been better than some other counties, but I think we just have to be a little bit more careful. And I think people are getting the services that they need. I have not heard any complaints from constituents. In fact, some people I've talked to have said, geez, it seems like they work very well by just doing things by mail. So I hate to have us closed, but I think it's too early by a month or so, and then we'll have a better feel in a month, I think. Either way.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? I guess my thoughts basically is that services are being provided. And to my knowledge, we have not received any complaints I haven't received any complaints from anyone. And probably more importantly, our building isn't ready yet to have public in the building. I mean, we were just talking earlier in our meeting today about ICON's plan, for preparing our building for COVID-related kinds of situations. And so, and also I'm worried in that our numbers are going up, but I mean, you need to look at more than like a 7-day or even a 14-day. I mean, a trend, I think, on that going into the flu season, that sort of thing on top of COVID. It's, to me, it's too soon. We're not ready, we're not there yet, from my perspective, and I'm not opposed to having discussion on this again sometime in the near future. But I would look, at, mid-November, beginning of November, or somewhere in there, and have that discussion, but.
Madam Chair, I guess.
I'm sorry, and we don't know with, I think that we need to probably have conversation with our department heads, Mr. Ford, to talk to them to see where they are at with all of this as well. So, go ahead.
Mr. Ford had given direction to department heads to submit their plans. And that was almost like a month ago or better. And only 4 people have complied so far. And the other issue is, the sheriff's department, they've been going full blast. They have public coming in and out. They've had no issues at all. And finance and tax, I think Debbie has her entire staff working down there. And they've had no issues either. So I just felt that January 4th was a little far out. So I wanted to make this motion. So.
Are you getting complaints from the outside?
Well, when you look at, like, people who have to file abstracts or whatever, somebody has to come in. They'll call and say, well, I need to file an app. So they drive in from their
I
home.
think with that, they have, I don't know if they have access to those records online or faxing or.
Well, I heard Garland has to come in downstairs, and so the paperwork can be filed.
I don't know what the process is there,
Yeah.
but I've never understood that was an issue. Actually, I think that they're, the realtors and all that other stuff are getting all of their information very timely.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'd have to speak to Garland.
I think, ma'am, if it probably because we're looking at January 4, it's probably for the department heads, it hasn't been a sense of urgency yet.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say next.
And something Commissioner Ross and I had discussed as well. I think if the board was to make a decision at some point to open earlier, and they were given directive to have a safety plan in place by a certain time, I have no doubt that they would get it in time. I think it's just being so far out there.
Well, and I also know that public health is very much in favor of us remaining closed, and we're about the only entity that is doing that, and we are, and they're very, very supportive of that and happy that the county is doing that. So, I certainly would recommend that conversations be had with them on this as well. But, it's, if we were, well, I won't say anything more, so, but I'm not opposed to having discussions at some point down the road. But again, with ICON coming in and preparing our building, that's going to take another month or 2 months probably, and before all of that gets worked out. And so we're going to be at January. And so, we may want to open sooner, but if we don't have the protections there, we aren't or can't open. I guess we could, but, so any other comments, discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second then to reopen the Grand Forks County building
November 6th.
on November 16th, 2020, rather than waiting until January 4th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so motion fails, but thank you, Bob. Okay, anything else for us?
No. And
No,
we
MPO?
didn't meet, there was nothing on the agenda or nothing, so. Nope, that was it.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner Peach?
The airport authority met about a week and a half ago. Surprisingly, our numbers are a little bit better than anticipated. Of course, mainly on the UND side, we're seeing quite a bit of activity. But there is, our commercial airlines are moving forward. There is a ridership on the airline, a little bit greater than the staff, the administrative staff had anticipated. So that's a good thing. The CSAP 911 board meets actually this coming Thursday. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Engen?
Yes, I attended my first meeting of the Grand Forks Housing Authority and realized I now have another subject area I have to start from square one and learn. But they do a lot of good work, so.
They do a lot of good work, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, Commissioner Falk.
I really don't have much. I've got a Team Grand Forks, I think, legislative meeting or something coming up next week, and that's about it. Thank you.
All right. My report on emergency management, Kari apologizes for not being able to be here today. She has a schedule conflict, but she says most of her updates were tied to what Debbie Swanson and Tom Ford have indicated today. And so just wanted to report that our hazard mitigation plan that had been submitted was reviewed, and there were issues that were identified, and those have been corrected. They've been submitted again, and so we hope to know by Friday what the outcome of that is. And then Kari and Dustin Johnson of Public Health are working to develop a safety plan for the election, is my understanding.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, yes, I did reach out to Public Health
to
help me.
Yeah.
And Debbie Swanson recommended that Kari contact me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to meet with them tomorrow.
Okay, all right. And Kari indicated she'll also be working with you to find volunteers that can help you during the election process too, or for those 8 days anyhow. So, and then like Nikki talked about, that we did receive the Stafford declaration for the summer storms. And per Kari, we now have 5 open disasters in Grand Forks County, and that's last spring of 2019, last fall of 2019, this spring, COVID, and our summer storms. So they have their work cut out for them. My public library report, you probably read in the paper, but with the strong urging of the mayor to reopen the Grand Forks Public Library, the Library Executive Board called an unscheduled special meeting on September 30th and voted 5-1 to enter into a modest reopening plan. And the vote means patrons will be able to schedule in-person visits at the library. I was not able to attend that library meeting due to another obligation, but I was able to share my concerns with the library director prior to the meeting. The consensus is that the library would begin opening by limited appointments only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Tuesdays, the library would offer appointments from 9 until 1, with 9 to 10 being set aside for vulnerable and at-risk individuals, because the library has a lot of vulnerable and at-risk individuals. Typically, the library sees probably or has maybe 500 people a day that go through the library, and many of them are high risk and or vulnerable. And so the same kind of an appointment schedule would be set up for the Thursdays. For the board, the appointments would be for 1/2 hour increments with 1/2 hour between each time slot for cleaning purposes. A lot of people come in and use the computers and that sort of thing, and so they all need to be washed down and sanitized and that sort of thing. And then on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they'll continue their curbside services for pickup and returning of books only, which has been a very active entity for the public library, and it's worked out very well. And so library statistics throughout the pandemic show that more than 2,500 people used the library Wi-Fi last month, and ebooks used has increased by 1,000 checkouts per month. The program attendance during the COVID situation is increased dramatically. And this is under a closed library. Attendance of adult events have increased 224%. Teen attendance has increased 1,097%. And children's attendance has increased 876%. And that's all happening through virtual programs that they don't normally do, but have been doing through the COVID incident. So planning stages are still being worked out. And staffing is a big issue because of the extra work and things like that. So there'll be less time by staff for the special programming and services that they were able to do during the pandemic. And they hope we have everything in place and so that they can offer the in-services starting effective October 15th. Outside of that, I'm back helping Debbie and her team with elections. And then we also just, the North Dakota Association of Counties conference is scheduled for October 12th coming up. And so I have signed up for that. And we'll see where that goes. The elections process takes precedence for me, and I didn't recognize that when I scheduled myself for the conference. And so just so you know that. Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing else, we have unfinished business, and so we have information from the North Dakota State Fair appointment, and this is an annual letter that we get, just saying that they are having their annual meeting on November 19th, 2020, and it's always in Minot, North Dakota. And they are looking for a representative from Grand Forks County Commission to attend. And so I do sit on the fair board. Typically in the past, you have nominated me to attend. It's a 1-hour meeting and drive to Minot and back. I don't know if they're doing it by Zoom. There's been nothing in the letter that would indicate that. And so I'm just putting out there that I would probably only consider going if it's a Zoom conference.
Yeah.
And so if you, I guess what they're asking for is a nomination document, maybe scanned and emailed, indicating who that individual would be. So do you want to do that, or?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, they would like you to appoint a designee. So you would have to make a motion to appoint someone, and then we have to have a letter signed by the chair submitted to them.
Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion on who should attend?
I will make a motion that Commissioner Knopf be our representative.
Madam Chair, I would second that motion.
Okay, and so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. So do you,
So a letter has to be written and the chair has to sign.
huh?
We'll do a letter for you to
Okay.
sign.
All right.
Appoint yourself. I don't know.
We're just being fair.
Okay, and the next item is Transportation Alternative Program, and this comes from the Department of Transportation, and this is just, they're requesting and accepting applications for transportation alternatives, and we see this again pretty much every year. Their projects that they are doing are pedestrian bicycle projects, safe routes to school, conversion of abandoned railroad corridors, that sort of thing. And so this is just their way of letting you know that this is again available and again accepting applications. So it's I don't think that there's any action. This is all projects within the jurisdiction of Metropolitan Planning Organization. needs to be submitted to the MPO by their respective deadlines. So is that MPO needs to do this?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, you seem to, if you wanted to apply. And I also have given a copy to the water board. So
To the who?
Water board,
Okay.
so if they're interested.
So informational only at this point. And then the next one is Grand Forks City B4 Central Business District change. And you all received a copy of the letter, and I'm not going to go through that, but I'm assuming that because we're included in buildings downtown is why we got a copy of the letter. And it's just to let us know that there are new draft guidelines that they are offering as it relates to B4 central zoning changes. Next item is correspondence, and this is your letter from Nedrin, and we get this, I believe, annually. It seems like sometimes we get it more twice a year. Okay. And so and then there's an attached document, and this time our Nedrin refund was $19,073, which is wonderful. And that's all based on a refund based on the number of documents recorded in the recorder's office in Grand Forks County, so that's great. Anything else to come before the board? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you for your